Welcome to the podcast series Talking Success, connecting the global FinTech community. I'm Stacey Jafta, and today I'll be chatting with Ike Anison, Senior VP of GTP. Ike, how are you doing?
I'm great, Stacey. It's nice to be on your program.
Welcome. We have been talking about this for close to a year and a half, and we're finally doing it.
Yeah, I think COVID took its toll on us. We had a call sometime last year, and then but thank God we're here now. That's the most important thing.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you on and hear more about your story. You're always on my LinkedIn page, and it's so nice seeing what you're up to and your views on everything. So I'm excited to dive deeper into just your opinions, the things you've learned. Can you give the audience some background and how you became Senior VP of GTP?
Okay, well, I need to go back to when I started my career. So when I initially actually wanted to be in advertising, I fancied myself an advertising guru or something. So I got an offer there, and then not long afterwards, I got a bank offer, almost around the same time. So advertising was paying, let's say, $1 an hour, and banking was paying about $5 an hour.
So big difference.
So I jumped into the banking, and so that's how I got into banking. The truth is, I didn't really enjoy it much because I started as a teller. It wasn't interesting. That's the truth. But I persevered, and then I got a call from the head of corporate affairs of the bank, and he just said, "Look, we're looking for someone to come and join." I said, "Yes." I didn't even hear what it was. what it was. I just said, "Yes." I
whatever you want. Yes.
Yeah. I just want to get out of the cage, because then when you're a teller, we used to call it a cage. It was like you're in prison or something. So
very animalistic.
Exactly. So I jumped at the opportunity. So what is corporate affairs? What it did is expose me to a lot of the management staff, because I did a lot of protocol for them and stuff like that. And that's where, like a year later, the MD of the bank, just called me into his office. He was an Englishman, and said, "Ike, there's this new thing starting called Smart Card." I said, Yeah. "What's it about?" He says, "Oh, it's just about electronic payments. Are you interested?" I said, Yes. I just said yes. I didn't know what it was, didn't have a clue. So I was one of the pioneer members of, Smart Card unit. And that really started my, career in payments, electronic banking, digital payments, etc. And since then, all the banks I've worked in has basically been, in that field, either cards or e-products, along that area. So from bank to bank, I've done basically that. And then I was in a bank where GTP was selling their product to them. So today, GTP is a third-party prepaid processor. They focus in, providing prepaid solutions and platforms for banks, program managers who want to issue prepaid cards. So they were talking to the bank that I was working in. And so I was on the desk, cards desk at the time. So I got to meet them. We implemented a solution. And that's how, we met. And it was a good relationship. They're nice people, and, we got on well. Sometime later, they called me up and said, "Hey, Ike, we're looking for, someone on the ground, in Nigeria to sort of handle our English-speaking, relationships." I said yes again, and then I joined GTP. So now I'm, Senior VP account management. I mean, I didn't start that way. I started basically just, regional director, customer service stroke, operations, just basically a face, to the company on the ground, because the company is based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the United States. But in Africa, people love to see you. They love to see someone to talk to. So it's been a progression. I think I'm 8 years now in the company. So
wow, congratulations!
Now, thanks. So I think about late last year, I was promoted to head of account management, senior VP. So I'm that's the story.
Nice. On this podcast, we've had multiple episodes on how to sell, but what I feel is even more important and something that's really dear to my heart is keeping your clients happy versus bringing on new clients. You focus on account management. What do you believe makes a good account manager?
Well, so if you break that word down, it's account and then management.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
first of all, we have accounts. And then how do we manage the account? And there's many definitions of management, but I think basically it's using resources to get to a specific goal, a predetermined goal that you're trying to achieve. So using all the resources you have to achieve, specific goals. So in account management, it's similar to that. So what does the account mean to you as the organization? What are the aspirations of the account for themselves? So does the company want to achieve with the product? So my job is essentially to assist them to do that while also meeting our own internal needs. So it's two ways. There's an internal, requirement or need that we want to meet, and then there's the external one. So the great account management is when both converge. So they're happy, we're happy. So that's the foundation of it. So understanding the goals, like I said, is critical. And how do I help the client to meet their goals? One of the things that you learn is how important is this product to the client. So, for example, a bank has so many different products that they're doing. They have savings account, different products.
Yeah.
So now we specialize in prepaid. We don't do acquiring, debit, credit. Now, if their prepaid portfolio is really important to them, then they will focus a lot of resources there. So you can assist them to improve and to meet their targets. But you do meet some banks who prepaid isn't as important. It's just, we just want to have the product for the sake of having the product. So for us also, we also, because resources are limited, you look at, which accounts you want to, devote the necessary time and energy to assist them to improve. So it's about weighing all of that. Do they actually value this product? Are they willing to grow? And I think one of the most rewarding things is when you see a client and, they started maybe on, level 1, and then after some time, they've improved in terms of all the metrics that we're looking for. And you've assisted them in that. And they now value that, your contribution, to their success. That's really quite rewarding.
Yeah. When I think of a good account manager, I actually think of our director of accounts here, Talent in the Cloud, Meg, is absolutely incredible. Like, she can tell you when each of our clients' children's dogs' birthdays are. Like, she's just like brilliant because she genuinely cares about each individual. Are there any attributes or skill sets that you think make a good account manager? Of course, we have communication, we have personability. Is there anything else that you can think of?
Well, so, relationship management and account management kind of seems similar, So today, the account is really the key, but of course, people are behind the account. So first of all, I think you need to be knowledgeable about the product or the service that you're providing, because if you're not knowledgeable, you're not adding value to the account. So you may be the nicest person, you may, send them birthday cards and know all the names of their, but if you're not actually adding value to their business, then, I think so. For me, that's the first thing. Then definitely you also want to get to know them, obviously understand I keep on talking about their goals, because if I know what you want to achieve, I can help you to get there. So typically, we engage our guys and say, so what do you want to do this year? What are your plans for this product? Oh, we want to do this, we want to do that. So that it's at that point that you can actually really go in and provide the necessary, expertise that they need. So really it's about adding value, being accessible. One of the things that is key to this job is accessibility. So we run a business where the system has to be up 24/7. Okay. Now, there's some people who work in the organization who have a 9 to 5 job. But
Yeah.
in account management, your job isn't 9 to 5. I mean,
Wow.
virtually all the guys have my, WhatsApp number,
Yeah.
Skype,
Yeah.
So being available is also very key.
As you mentioned, it's not just about keeping a client satisfied, but also just improving their performance if that's a goal of theirs. How do you manage this and how do you do that for a client? Just increasing them and improving their performance as a business.
So it's about, first of all, letting them see where they are as a business. You'd be surprised how some clients don't even have a clue, how the business is doing. They just, we're doing cards and, not a problem. So we first of all provide them with the information. We take a picture. This is what you look like as a business. And so where do you want to improve? Is it the eyelashes? Is it the mouth? Is it, which aspect?
Lipstick.
Lipstick, exactly. So once we've defined where they want to improve, then we tell them, there are different shades of lipstick that will really enhance your face. And, we provide that to them. And we set metrics. So we have quarterly reviews that we try to do with major clients to say, this quarter is done. Yes, your cards increased, revenue increased, or actually it didn't. Why didn't it increase? We engage them in when you're doing promotions, and you look at, did the promotions succeed? Because we wanted to increase our card sales by, 5%, 10%. At the end of the quarter, we look at the numbers and we see actually it didn't work, or yes, it did work. And one of the things that we do is we try and replicate success. So because what we do is we work across the continent. We're in about 30 different countries. So for the most part, we know what works, for a prepaid program, what kind of things you need to have in place. So once it's worked in one place, it's easy for us to just say, hey, look, all things being equal, if you cut and paste, these things into your own program, you should be able to succeed. And I think that's one of the keys that helps, to help people to perform.
What have you found to be the most challenging part of account management for you specifically?
I think initially we had issues around data in terms of getting data in the right format that could be presented to the clients. So, can you
elaborate on that?
So having worked in a bank, I wanted to see, basically when I was in the bank, I used to create my own database from raw data that we used to get from the processors, because my supervisors wanted to see certain things to be able to see, determine whether we're, actually doing well or not. So data was all over the place. We had a lot of data, but it wasn't in the format that was consumable. Bankers don't have time. They want you to be able to present something that they can easily see, high level, digestible. So that was a challenge, So what I did was sort of try to develop something. We were working on it, but in the interim, we had to give them something. So I developed something that you could at least present to them. The key there is, don't let perfect get in the way of, at least good enough. Sometimes some people say, well, the organization doesn't have something yet, so we can't give you anything until we're ready. I don't think that's really good enough. You can give them something because, where I'm from, we say half bread is better than none. So that's a very African saying. But so I did that, and then the next thing is communication. So we have, our clients across Africa. We have English speaking, French speaking. In fact, we have more French speaking, clients than English speaking.
Yeah.
But the company itself is an American company. Head office is in Tulsa. So at times communication, there's a gap there in terms of understanding the client's needs. Here, depending on, even Africa is very different. I'm from Nigeria, and we're very, very aggressive. If you go to East Africa, Zambia, Malawi, they're a little bit more chilled, So it's understanding the nuances of each region and being able to transfer or communicate that to our head office so that, when there's a request, it's understood and it's treated, appropriately. So I think those were the two, challenges, which, thankfully we overcome now. We have people French speakers, on our team that handle the French side. So there's always a way to get things done.
Is there a time where you messed up at work? And this doesn't have to be just about account management. This can be throughout your career. I think this is a brilliant question to ask in interviews when interviewing candidates, just to hear what they have to say and then how they overcame that situation.
I'm glad you asked this because, when I was early on in my career, there was a colleague from another bank who worked in a really good bank. It's one of those banks that, you really wanted to work in. So he got me an interview with his group head. So, I was ready. I went into the interview. Well, I thought I was ready anyway. So I went to have a chat with him. So he asked me, what are you doing now? I said, well, I'm on a desk where we handle letters of credit. It's trade, finance and stuff. So he started asking me question after question after question, and I didn't have a clue what he was talking about. I mean, literally, it was awful. It was one of the worst interviews I'd ever been to. And at the end, he said, "Ike, look, you're not on that desk. Maybe you're just basically saying I was lying because I performed so poorly." So. I left, with my tail between my legs and just went back. But then I sat down and I said, so what happened? What happened was when I was transferred to that desk, my supervisor is actually the one, he would just tell me, take this file, put this document in there, take it to this department, do this, do that. So I was a robot. I wasn't trained. I didn't really understand what I was doing, But then I realized, so initially I wanted to blame him that, he didn't train me well. But then actually it's my fault. You may be in a position or a role where you're given adequate training. They tell you everything, not just how to do the job, but why you're doing the job, which is perhaps even more important than how to do the job. So then I realized that it's my responsibility to know the job I'm doing. So yes, if you're working in a place where they give you all the training, great. But if you're not, you need to learn on the job. If you need to take courses. I mean, today, you don't have an excuse. You have Google, YouTube, you can basically find out. So I learned that very early that, you need to know your onions, because...
Your onions?
When you walk into a doctor's office, the assumption is he knows what he's doing, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, so when someone walks into your office, if you're a banker, if you're in GTP and they call you about a product or whatever, they're calling you because they assume you know what you're doing. They assume you know the job. And at the end of the day, you're actually working for yourself. It's the knowledge that you have that somebody else values.
Scott, could you design a video game?
I could make you a hypothetical one. If I took some random genres, mechanics, maybe blended them together, and created a new hypothetical game.
Now that would make a great podcast.
Undoubtedly.
So what would you make? Something original and exciting? A Dark Souls city builder? A co-op roguelike?
Everything. All of that. We could use the Nemesis system and put it in a first-person shooter. And we could have a loot system with survival mechanics and motion controls. And maybe you could... I don't know, save a kingdom from some out-of-control toasters. What about party?
Catch the Gaming Blender on all your favourite podcast platforms.
It baffles me that people aren't more curious. My parents always talk about this when I was really, really young. Like, I was infamous for just saying why. Like, as a little kid, like, do not touch this. I was like, why? You're not allowed to go there. Why? And was really annoying for my parents, but they always took the time to explain, you don't touch this because it will burn you and you will hurt. Where most parents are just like, do not touch it because I say so. And this has just, I think, been part of who I am. And as I grow up, I'm just very, very curious. And my CEO knows this. I'll be like, he's like, okay, so you're building with this entity. And I'm like, explain to me why we have different entities. Explain to me the legal elements of this. This has absolutely nothing to do with my job, but I don't want to just send this document to a client. I want to know, okay, why am I sending it? Why is this section relevant to him? And that's just because like as a person, like I enjoy just understanding the 360 of the product and of the service. And I just don't understand how people don't feel that way. It's just so confusing to me.
But let me tell you something. Naturally, I'm not the way you are.
Okay.
Naturally, I'm a very reserved, shy kind of person. But I want to do a good job. So if I understand doing a good job means, getting out of my comfort zone to ask questions, to dig deeper, then I'll do it. Because at the end of the day, what makes me feel good is that I've done a good job. So I break out of that shell, naturally I just keep quiet, sit in my corner. I don't want to disturb anyone. But when I realized I wasn't getting far that way, I had to break out of that shell. Yeah.
Yeah. And you came from a banking background, and within GTP, it's more of a flat org structure. Do you have a different approach now? Like, I'm assuming that when you were in the banking space, you were speaking about the way you were just given things was more robotic. Do you see that having a flat org structure has changed that, or is there anything else you see that's different?
Well, I mean, you're right. The banking is completely different from GTP. I mean, GTP, like you said, is flat. Everyone is accessible. There's no micromanagement. But one of the things that I benefited from in the banking environment was, we worked quite hard, a lot of pressure situations.
Yeah.
And we worked long hours. So hard work wasn't a problem for me. And it became part of my nature, my work ethic. So sometimes when you work in an organization like GTP, even maybe perhaps where you work and some of these fintech companies, where I wouldn't say there's less stress. If you don't have an intrinsic work culture, you can, become a bit relaxed. You can become a bit, because no one's looking over your shoulder to say, do this, do this, do this. There's no micromanagement. You're just basically told, this is what we need to do and to get it done. So you can slack off if that's kind of like, because, hey, I work from home most of the time. I mean, I've worked, remotely since I joined GTP. So you have to be disciplined, So although it's a very, flat structure, I mean, we have access to everyone. Everyone has access to everyone, but they do watch to see that you're performing. And no one's going to, beat you over the head to say, you haven't done this, you haven't done this. So because of that, it's evident. There are no layers to hide behind. Sometimes when you're in, hierarchical organizations, you can hide behind your boss and he can hide behind this and he can hide behind, So that's it. That's I think, it's nice, and the culture is good because they actually treat you, like a human being, not just a number. So I think that's a major difference.
When it comes to hiring talent and finding talent that would fit well into this model, do you see a difference, the type of people that would fit better into a flat structure? And if so, like, how would you change the questions you'd ask in an interview for different organizational structures?
Actually, when I'm, hiring or interviewing, one of the things, especially if we tend to hire from banks, because I came from a bank, and we tend to hire people who have possibly worked with us in the past, who were, on the bank side, who were liaising with GTP, because it's just makes it easier because you understand the system better, you understand a little bit about, so the learning curve isn't as wide if, we're to hire somebody completely fresh. But the thing I discuss most about them is just what I talked about, the work culture. You have to be very disciplined when you cross over, because, like I said, mostly we work from home, and there's no one who's going to be chasing you up. Yes, we do have, weekly meetings and things like that, but you have to be a go-getter. You have to, be sure about what your tasks are, what your deliverables are, and you have to deliver on them. So those are the things I'm looking at. I'm looking at people who are hungry, not people who are just like, oh, easy street now, fold my feet up and, it's not, thank God I've escaped from the banking setup. So those are key things: good work ethic, ability or willingness to learn as well. and a desire to also help. Because by what we do a lot is actually help. We help people to improve their performance. We help people to, even get promoted. If you're doing well on that, desk, the organization takes note of you, and you get elevated where you are, and we say, oh, thank God, at least we were able to help you to do that.
Ike, and then the last question I have for you is something I've been seeing quite often is people being in positions for like 10 plus years, doing the same thing, feeling trapped, but they have no idea how to change that environment, especially if this is all they know or the industry knows them as only doing this one thing. What would you suggest that they do?
It's a tricky question, Stacey, but I think I always respond to this with another question, which is, why do you feel trapped? So doing the same job for 10 years in itself is not a reason to feel trapped if you're fulfilled in what you're doing. So, that's the question you need to ask yourself and answer. So if it means I'm no longer feeling fulfilled because I know everything about this job, then you may not need to leave the organization. You may just need to leave the unit. Let me give you a very quick example. One of the banks I was in, went under, had to look for another job. So I got a job, but they sent me to a branch as like a marketer or, normal branch work, which I didn't like.
Yeah.
And I said, this isn't my skill set. I'm not being fully utilized here. So I wrote to the head of the ED in charge of digital banking. And a few days later, he responded and said, come to the head office and see me. So we had a chat, we had a talk, and he looked at my CV, and he said, yeah, I think you're right. There's an opening coming up in a couple of months' time. There's a guy who heads a unit. He's going to school in England. Would you like to come and take over? I said, yes. So sometimes it's just about asking. If you feel you're getting burnt out on the job and you need a new challenge, you can ask, can you move me to accounts? Can you move me to, business development? So if you've asked and they've said no, then you can look at maybe going outside to see, the opportunity. So the question is, you need to ask yourself, why do you feel trapped? Once you've been able to answer that, then the steps to take are pretty self-evident.
Perfect. Thanks. I actually had an episode with the CEO of Mia Wallet, Nuno, and he was an intern. He was at Opera for his entire career. Went from an intern, was there for years and years, but he said he felt so fulfilled because he was just changing his positions, taking on new challenges. So for him, he's like, it felt like he was in different businesses the entire time. So I definitely don't think the solution is to change companies necessarily, but I think that many people are just feeling disheartened or not getting enough of a challenge each day when your day kind of feels repetitive, or the things or the parts of the job that was maybe more of a challenge is no longer because you're so skilled up. So I think that's great advice. Ike, thank you so much for being on the episode. I'm glad we finally did it. Thank you so much, Stacey. It's been my pleasure. Awesome. Where's the best place for listeners to reach you? Well, I think I'm usually on LinkedIn. I have LinkedIn Ike Anison, so you can always connect there. Send me a connect request. I'll accept it, and then we can take it from there. Fantastic. Thanks again. Okay, cheers. Have a great day. Bye. Bye. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Talking Success, Connecting the Global FinTech Community. Feel free to follow us on LinkedIn at Talent in the Cloud. And if you're interested in exec talent, expanding your team, or you yourself are looking for a new, exciting change in your career, check out our website, talentinthecloud.io.